Welcome back to the FireZone show. We are back at you here to talk defense as we do. It's me, MC, along with at the FireZone show, Dennard Melton. Going to talk about this Steelers game, all things Ravens defense related. But before that, just touch base with my guy, Dennard. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
You know, it's been an up and down week. I've shared some of that with you privately as we've led up to this week. I'm not one of those people who are ashamed to talk about, my vaccine status or anything like that. And I'm not saying this as a way to push people to one side or the other, but I got my booster earlier this week. I got more Moderna, more problems. And
Yes.
it jumped on my back. Jumped on my
Yes.
back for 2 days.
Yes. My wife got her booster like 2 weeks ago. I still think she's feeling it. I'm like, do I really? Omicron, are you that bad? Let me ask you. Do I really?
Hey, man. My son, right? I told you my son is 14. He about to turn 15 next month. He was seeing it on the news, right? But he wasn't
Right.
listening. So he was just looking at the word. He was like, Omarion.
I saw something earlier. Someone was like, did someone decide to like wake up the Decepticons from the dark side of the moon?
Hey, real talk. I did not even know this. I was talking to my mom about it tonight, and she said it used to be like a knockoff TV brand back in the day. Legit spelled the same way. It was called Omicron, and it was like Tandy or something like that. It was like it wasn't like Zenith or Sony. It was like a
I
knockoff.
heard like Bill Gates had a game named it. Named it after this name. Like it was some weird like demon game. Like it is like okay. we just picking names out that just have wrong associations.
Just picking random stuff out there. And I'll tell you, I felt the same way after I got my second shot. That was Moderna too. But I got this booster, and it jumped up on me. I pretty much shut it down all day Wednesday. I did like one thing. Other than that, I shut it down. It felt better today. Feeling better, even better now. Like it's different for everybody. But yeah, other than that, I'm good. That's enough about me. Let's get into this Steelers game, man. A 19-20 defeat for the good guys. I know we talk defense, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't let the people know your thoughts, your perspective on that decision to go for 2 at the end of the game. So the decision, the call itself, tell the people how you felt about it.
You have to understand the predicament that they were in. They were down corners. They're not going into overtime thinking that they can do anything with Ben at that point. I mean, Ben was in a rhythm. Ben's lighting up whoever's in the slot. It didn't matter. It could have been Tavon. It could have been Humphrey when he was in there. Devon, I forget his name, Johnson, whoever the receiver is, was carving people up. So in that situation, in a rivalry game, in a game that if you do score, you're gonna go home.
Yeah.
So okay. So now we've made that decision because even as they're driving, I'm even thinking like I'm going for 2. Like I don't want to go to overtime in Pittsburgh at night. No, that's like Demon Central. No, thank you. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my shot if I get it. So first of all, as a player, yes, please. Like if we got an opportunity to win the ball game, let's go do it. So kudos to everybody on board with what's going on with that. Now the call, once again, you have 5 plays in the game you can always pick out that are going to be determining factor, no matter what. And obviously this one was it. But you still have to make plays. As a player, as a coach, all you can do is put yourself in a position to make a play. Now, TJ Watt, he gets paid just like everybody else. And I'm sorry, he made a better play. He made Lamar have to change the way he wanted to deliver that ball. Okay, so Lamar has to make a change. Now I need my favorite person in the world, Mark Andrews, to do something he has not done in a big moment yet. And I'm still waiting. And I'm not knocking him for what he's done in the regular season. But he has yet to show up at a big moment. And I'm not talking about making a spectacular play in the first quarter. I'm not talking about catching a touchdown in the fourth quarter when he throws it and hits you square in the chest. No, I'm talking about plays like in the first quarter of the playoff game against Tennessee, where he should have made the play down the seam, which would have changed the entire game and the trajectory of that game. Make a play, different ball game. Doesn't make it. Fast forward a year later, he has some critical drops against Cincinnati. He has some critical drops against Cleveland in some spots. And then we get here. Big contract. Needs you to show up. You're literally the healthiest person on the squad on offense. Lamar is still getting over this virus that is literally destroying everything it touches in Maryland. It's a sinus infection that is literally destroying anything it touches.
Taking everybody
out. Wiping people out. So, you have not been sick. You have been the most healthiest weapon on offense. I need you to make a play. And you didn't. So I cannot hate on the call because the call gave you the opportunity to make a play. That's all I can do as a coach. I can draw it up. It can look ugly as all get up, which that looked as ugly as heck. But guess what? It gave you what you wanted, which was Mark Andrews, the ball on his one hand. I need you to make a play. If not, then I'm going to put you on empty sets and you're now going to be a blocker so I can get over it and get through cover zero so you can protect me. Like that, I need one or the other. I need you to make plays or I need you to sit in protection and let someone else make plays.
Yeah, man. Hey, you said it all. My 2 cents, I pretty much, we talked about this, so we're pretty much aligned on it. I like the decision, like you said. You had the ball, right? And the opportunity to win the game. You know, you go to overtime, it's coin toss, it's kick. You know, you don't know if you're going to get it, if you got to come out on, you don't, there's unknowns, right? In that situation, we've got the ball, we got control of the call, of our call. You know, let's go out there and try to win it. The play call itself, I liked it, like you said, and you hit it. I mean, great players involved, good players involved. TJ Watt made a play, and the Ravens weren't able to. So sometimes you got to tip your cap. I mean, and just it is what it is.
It is what it is.
But that's enough time about offense. That's enough time about the offense. Let's talk about the defense, which overall, I thought had a pretty solid game. Obviously, that fourth quarter was the exception. And, you know, they don't play 3 quarters, they play 4. And so I don't want to gloss over that and like, yeah, but no, there is no yeah, but. I mean, they play 4. And you know, they had a rough time in that fourth quarter, but just high level before we go through the individual position groups, high level, what were your thoughts on the defense?
I thought the game plan was solid up until the 2-minute in the second quarter when Ben came out and we didn't stick to the game plan. we got a little timid. We decided to sit back and touch. And Ben hit 3-4 passes, and the next thing you know, that's all Big Ben needs. The gunslinger comes out, and he's calling his own plays at the line of scrimmage. That's a different beast. I want Ben getting calls from the sideline. when Ben decides he wants to be backyard Ben, you might as well buckle up, because that's hard to beat when he gets in that mode. But I thought the pass rush was consistent. They did get a little tired at the end, but that's what happens when you face teams who just literally continue to throw the football. I mean, overall coverage was good. I mean, tackling was decent, but then you have 2 drives where one goes, like you said, for 40, 29. It just seems like this defense plays well, and then everybody at the same time glitches. Like everybody just, what we doing? I didn't get the call. Wait, what? And then it's like they're back at it, and you're like, well, it's too late now. You gave up 21 points. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
It's just it's you hate it as a defensive coordinator because you don't want to call your defense this. And I don't want to be derogatory about the term, but it's like schizophrenic. Like you see what you see, it's perfect, it's wandering, it's great, and then all of a sudden it's just like, what happened? What? Oh, I thought, and then you have to reset, and you have to look at it again. You're just like, okay, like we're good, like we're in this lane, and then all of a sudden someone doesn't get a call, someone misses a tackle. Someone decides they don't want to be on the field. You got 10 people on the field. I mean, the stuff that happens to this defense is wild.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you go 7 games without an interception?
Ooh, and they had their hands on a couple of them in that Steelers game. Just couldn't reel them in. Right, right before the field goal that you're talking about, the play before that, Justin Houston had dropped back. Not an easy catch for a pass rusher, but I mean, it goes through your hands.
But on both sides of the ball.
Remember, Chuck had one on the screen. He jumped, and then the one that Bowser and Marlon tipped, and they could. So I mean, there was at least 3, and then Averett actually had one, like literally. Well, Queen got it, but Averett was called for holding. So. They had the opportunities in this game and couldn't seal the deal.
But look on both sides of the ball, though. We just literally described all the missed opportunities on defense.
Yeah.
Then you look on the offensive side of the ball. They should have been up 28-0.
Yeah.
And yet, all this chaos on both sides of the ball.
Chaos.
And somehow you're a 2-point conversion away
to winning the game.
From coming out of Pittsburgh with a win. Like, please explain this to me.
No, it's not supposed to be possible. It's not supposed to be possible. I mean, you control the game basically for 3 quarters. You essentially control the game for 3 quarters, certainly in the first half, with the way they possessed the ball on offense and how they played on defense. Control the game in the first half and for a big chunk of the third quarter. But in the fourth quarter, you give up 17 points. You give up 2 touchdowns. Big plays, you talked about it. 40-yarder to Claypool. That was off a missed tackle. 29-yard TD to Johnson. That was Avery, who came out himself. So this isn't us. These ain't our words. He came out in a presser and said everybody was playing one thing except for me. I didn't get the call. I didn't get the second check, he said.
No.
So, those are his word. And then another 25 yards.
Stop.
In the
Please.
fourth.
No.
Gotta relive it. Can't run. Can't
hide. You as a coach, it is if he could, he would bench him. Seriously. Like there's things you can tolerate as a coach. You can tolerate missed tackles. You can tolerate overrunning plays. It is very hard to tolerate on a weekly basis individuals who keep saying they don't get called. So one or two things are happening, or one or two things are going to fix this. Either A, we're going to start huddling, and no one on defense likes huddling. It is horrible because that means you have to go all the way back in, go all the way back out to your position. It is literally the bane of my existence. But guess what? If we're not getting a call, we're going to go get in the huddle. Or I need to hear everybody on the field screaming the check. And if I don't, guess what? There's only one thing I'm going to do. Everybody get in the huddle. Because I can't do it anymore. Because we're losing football games now. We're losing control of football games because someone decided to tune out for 4 seconds.
You're at a place and a point in time in the season. Can't happen. Can't happen anymore. There's no more room for error. There's no margin for error at this point. So, like you said, just lost this division game, getting ready to play the Browns again. I mean, there's no more room for error.
I will say this right now: the Steelers are about to get the doors blown off if they don't wake up over here.
Okay, well, that'll help for sure. That'll help for sure.
They're literally about to get the doors blown off.
Hey, well, that's music to my ears. Music to my ears. We like that. We'll take all the help that we can get. But let's run through these position groups. Get your thoughts on that. We'll start on the defensive line. How do you think those guys did up front?
They did their job in the first half. They controlled the running game. They controlled Ben. They kept Ben in the pocket. They didn't let him extend plays. They were solid tackling up front. I mean, they were getting decent pressure. And then, once Ben got in a rhythm, what's Suggs say? You just hang on. You figure out a way to just make one play. You got to make one play. And Ben's going to give you opportunities to do that. And like you said, Justin Houston dropped his opportunity.
Yeah, if you look at even just the numbers, if you were to look at the overall, right, the final game statistics, and I still think these are pretty good for the run game anyway. Najee Harris, 21 carries, 71 yards, right? Yep. But just the first half, 5 carries for, I want to say it was 8 yards.
They didn't have a lot of plays in the first half.
Yeah, they did not have the ball very much. No, sorry, 13. 5 carries. I wanted to make sure I get that right. 5 carries for 13 yards. Ben was 8 of 13 for 80 yards. And you're right. The Ravens possessed the ball for a big chunk of that first half. And so, the defense wasn't even out there for as many snaps in the first half. But a lot of that was because they were getting off the field on third down. Yep. So, credit to them. And then that even kind of extended into the third quarter, but it was that fourth quarter. But again, we already talked about that. Let's keep going through these position groups. Linebacker, what'd you think? I thought another pretty decent game for the linebacking core. What'd you think?
No glaring issues. A solid. It's just solid performances across the board. Like, that's the thing about this defense. They can really stack these solid performances together. It's just these monster and self-inflicted wounds that just end up just showing up in the most weird and most opportune times. Like just bad stuff just shows up. And you're just like, why? You just shake your head and you keep going.
Yeah, that's all you can do. I think Queen has continued, kind of his solid play over the last couple of weeks. Bynes, of course, has been that solidifying factor throughout. My guy Chris Welch still getting some snaps. Still happy to see that out there. Doing a few things a little bit, rushing a little bit.
Chris Ford needs to get back in the weight room and understand his assignment.
Hey, remember we couldn't say his name. We know his name now. Fryer move, running through people.
He just moved. New term. He moved him.
Just running through people. Now, again, I know you just said it was kind of solid across the board, but we got to include them. The secondary, DBs, cornerbacks. Obviously, there were some issues in the secondary.
Yes.
What do you think about how they played? Issues late, for the most part, pretty decent, but in the fourth, had some issues.
Teams who decide to use their speed in the receiving corps give the Ravens issues. When they decide to attack the middle of the defense with speed, with quickness, it exposes everything that is an issue schematically with the defense. Now, then you put your secondary in binds because now you're playing one-on-one in a vacant zone, and the receiver has a two-way go. So I know a lot of people get frustrated with the secondary. I get frustrated with the secondary. Sometimes the calls drive the results. And I think Harbaugh kind of harped on it a little bit against, maybe even said it this past week when he said that sometimes we just go to the well too much.
Yeah, that was this week, talking about, pressures.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go there one too many times.
One too many times. Let's not forget that statement. Because that's the mild version we got.
Yeah.
So I think with the injuries in the secondary, I think it's going to be a forced change in terms of what we see in terms of pressures and things along that sort. But I'm throwing it out there right now. This defense will need to change schematically in the offseason. It can no longer function in the way it does with the type of offense we are trying to build. We're not playing complementary football. We're too high risk, high reward on both sides of the ball. You can't do that and be balanced. So which side are you going to make conservative?
Well, hey, they're going to be changes. They're going to be changes. We know that. Always there's going to be changes on the roster. We know how the personnel side of it goes. But I think we're going to see changes in the and we see that too. Obviously, we saw changes in the coaching staff last year. A lot of turnover in the coaching staff. But it's because a lot of guys left. And so you had to backfill those positions. But I think we'll see some changes in the coaching staff as well. Now, look, you get in the playoffs, go on a run, win a Super Bowl. Hey, that changes things, right?
Just get to the conference championship.
Even
baby steps.
Yeah, even that can change things, and things that you might be thinking about doing now. Moves, changes that you might be thinking about doing now as a head coach. You get on some kind of streak like that, some kind of run like that. Maybe you rethink it when you get there. But where you are right now, he's had a couple of those comments after games.
Yeah. He had one. What game was that? Hold on. I want to make sure I say the right game. Let me look at my schedule here.
We had the Bears one where he really went into like a detailed explanation, when they hit that.
It was after Cincinnati. It was during the bye week. He made a comment about it because they got torched on some nonsense where you're putting Humphrey in a dig route coverage with no help whatsoever, with probably one of the baddest rookies in the league until everybody started to figure out just put somebody over top of him. Yeah. And Harbaugh has some things to say about what was going on in that game. Yeah. So this did not start this year. I will say that. There has been noise probably since the end of CJ Mosley. In terms of how weak the middle of field defense has been in years since then. So,
going to be interesting.
Something to keep an eye on.
Going to be interesting for sure. Well, look, anything else on the Steelers game you want to touch on? I thought we could talk a little bit about the Browns. We won't do super in depth, but just because they saw them just 2 weeks ago, it's still pretty fresh in our minds. Anything else on the Steelers game?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good too. You hit on it all. It's really a tale of halves, tale of 3 quarters versus 1 quarter, and you got to finish. You got to finish games. So it is what it is. Browns. This time we go to their place. Just saw them 2 weeks ago. They're coming off a bye. Typically, I'd look at that and think about the rest and recovery part of it. They got a chance to rest some guys, get some guys back. And maybe that'll be true for certain guys, the guys like Kareem Hunt, who had the calf thing and didn't actually even play the last series in the previous game because their calf started to tighten up. So maybe that helps them a little bit. But they've also had to put a couple of guys on the COVID list during this time. David Njoku, I think, is on there. I think their punter just got put on there today.
Yep.
One of their inside linebackers, Anthony Walker. On there. Yep. So, look, we saw this with TJ Watt going into the Steelers game where he went in, was on the list, was able to get the 2 negative tests within the time frame, and he played. So maybe it can happen for these guys too. But we know that they're already down a couple of people who got hurt in that last game. The right tackle, Conklin, he's done for the year. One of their tight ends, Harrison Bryant, I don't know if he's done for the year, but he's probably out for this game.
Yeah.
And then if Njoku can't go, they're a big 2 tight end, 3 tight end set offense.
Yeah.
If you're down to Austin Hooper, I'm not saying they can't adjust, but that's a big part of what they like to do. So the question is this, I guess it's a pretty easy one. Do they just do what they did in the last game defensively, or how do you expect, with things happening this close in time, proximity, what do you expect in terms of changes, or do you?
Well, it really depends on how much Cleveland trusts Mayfield, because the Ravens secondary is in shambles. Hurt everybody was sore. So if I'm a team who's down on a tight end, I just come out in 11 personnel with 1 tight end, go 3 wide, and basically dare the Ravens say, what are you going to do? Either I'm going to hand it off to Hunt and to Chubb, and you're going to be 6 in the box light, and I'm going to run over you, or you're going to drop the 7th guy in the box, and you're going to put your patch secondary up against not the greatest wide receiver core in the world, but with the Ravens down to 5th, 6th, and 7th corners, I mean, 3rd wide receivers out there in the league can go for 100. So the Ravens gonna have some issues. They're gonna have to carve out in the middle in this game and decide what they're gonna try to take away.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people make that point too about the Browns receiving core, outside of Jarvis Landry, who do you really have? But to your point, if you're saying, well, they've got second, third, maybe even fourth kind of wide receivers, well, we got second, third, maybe even fourth kind of corners out
Yeah.
there. So,
Yeah. It's
so,
gonna be interesting.
it is what it is. And whatever people think about Donovan Peoples Jones, you look at the numbers and say, I don't really see the numbers are there. The physical talent is there.
Yeah.
He didn't make some catches in that first game, but I wouldn't just overlook him and say, okay, we ain't got to worry about these guys. But to me, it's almost like you have to do kind of what they did the last time around, even though you don't have the same personnel in the secondary. You got to try to stop the run first,
Yep.
because that's what turns their offense into a lethal offense. Is getting that run game going and then being able to run all the wide zone play action boot stuff that they do. Um, if you can contain that like they did in the first game, and make Baker have to drop back a bunch of times, not off play action, just straight drop back, got to read the field, you like your chances.
Yep.
You take your chances against Baker in that situation.
Yep.
So it's going to be tough because it's like, all right, yeah, we need to drop that extra man down in the box to help us with the run. But now we're putting those guys out there on islands, and your Chris Westries, your Anthony Averett, whoever you want to roll out there in the slot. Hopefully Tavon is feeling better and he can play more this week. But they even talked about Brandon Stevens having to play some more. He played in the slot a little bit earlier on this year when Deshaun Elliott was healthy. And obviously he played corner in college. So he's got some ability to play some corner. So it's an all hands on deck situation. Guys could be lining up anywhere in the secondary. So should be another good game, though. Obviously, Cleveland, almost like Pittsburgh was going into this last game, kind of a back against the wall situation. A game they need to win. They're down. They're down.
Well,
What are
the
they're
Ravens are in even more of a predicament. You can't lose this game.
Well, no, not if you are trying to keep that hold on the lead in the division. You can't.
You can't suffer 3 losses in the division.
No. You're one game up on the Bengals. Still 2 games up, I think, on the Vikings and the Browns. Could go 3 games up on the Steelers, depending on what's going on.
It's getting ugly. It's
Okay.
gotten ugly.
Okay. But you don't want to let the Browns get to that 7th win, and feel like they still got a chance to stay in the division
Right.
race. Yeah. You got to go get this one. It ain't an easy one. It's on the road. We talked about all of the personnel issues. Everybody's talked about the offensive side and Lamar and all of that. But like we've said on this channel before, on this show before, when it looks like on paper everything is stacked against them, those tend to be the times they go and get a win in those games. We've seen that at various times throughout this year. It's really the other way around. When you come in feeling good about things and you like your chances, where sometimes they lay an egg.
Yeah.
But this kind of situation, yeah, I prefer these kind of situations. We talked about it before the Steelers game. I was super nervous that week. All of the stuff that I was seeing, I was like, man, I don't like it. I do not like it. Mike Tomlin questioning their manhood, Ryan Clark questioning their manhood. It's like, I don't like it. I don't like it because these guys are prideful. They're men. And you question that.
And yet, with all that going around, all you got to do is make one play.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Even with that, the game was there. The game was there to be won. You know what they say? More games are lost than they are won. So
keep moving.
That's it. Hey, we're on to the Browns. We're on to the Browns. We're on to Cleveland. So as usual, thank everybody for watching. If you listen to the audio version, please give us your feedback, give us your comments, subscribe, like, download, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. And hey, you know what? I just want to throw this out there. Be good to each other, man. Be good to each other. We're in that holiday season. be kind to one another, man. Just a kind word. You never know how far it goes, right? I'm not telling you go out there do nothing crazy. You ain't got to spend a whole bunch of money or anything like that. Just a kind word, kind gesture here or there goes a long way. Until next time. Yeah, got all serious on them. Until next time. Thanks for listening. Y'all take care.